It's the Jake and Ben Show. 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 Oh.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Jake and Ben Show. I'm Jake, and I'm here with Ben, and it is a beautiful Sunday evening here where Ben and I live, and we're going to talk about Marvel movies, I believe, for the whole episode. Is that right, Ben?
Hell yeah. MCU.
And just
We're
like...
going to talk it up. Because you know what? Yeah, you know what? Once tomorrow hits, you know what week it is? It's Infinity War week.
Sure is. I'm going to give a little heads up right away.
You don't sound jacked up.
Yeah. Just before we get into anything...
Like, fuck yeah, it's Infinity War week.
Ben and I, before we started recording, we were playing around with Skype and Discord to see what works the best, because Skype seems to be letting us down. I think my internet is slacking, or maybe Ben's, but we're going to try and get through this with minimal technical difficulties, but that's just, a little heads up. Maybe a train will pass. Who knows what's going to happen. I have my window open because it's so damn nice outside, so you might hear some nature, but just a little disclaimer to begin, but we can get into it, I think. So, Ben, do you want to give the rundown of what we're going to do this episode?
Okay, I'll give a quick rundown. We're going to start off, and we're going to talk about some Infinity War box office, let's say potential. We're going to move on to our list of our top, our ranking of the MCU movies so far. And we're going to end it off with some fun stuff of a death pool. Who do we think is most likely to die in Infinity War? So it's going to be a fun time. I'm looking forward to talking about this stuff. Are you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm really excited to rank them. That's what I think I'm most excited for. I was just fiddling with this little Easter egg thing. I'm just going to put that down because that was probably getting picked up by the mic. But if you want to lead us off with the box office thing, which I believe is least interesting, and maybe we'll just hit this real quick because I'm just really excited to rank some shit.
So you may think that's least interesting.
Okay.
Now, to me, when I heard this, I was like, shit. Okay. So we talked about box office before, and it was like the early projections were maybe the opening box office will be around 170 to 200, and a report comes out that on Fandango, it's currently outpacing the previous 7 MC movies combined. And the recent tracking is that Infinity War is tracking for around 230 million to 250 million opening weekend. To me, what's significant about that is, personally, I didn't think any movie in recent, from like 2015 to maybe like 10 years or whatever, that nothing was going to come close to beating the Force Awakens number at 247. It's a crazy number to get up there for an opening weekend. Like Force Awakens, for it to make that much money, each theater and like screening had to just show the Force Awakens. There's only so many screens that can show it. So to make that much money is fucking crazy. So if Infinity War were to come out and make like 250, I think that's amazing. I would be blown away just from that number. Personally, I know not everybody gives a shit about box office. To me, I dig it. So when I seen that number, I was just shit when I heard that. Which it might not make 250, but that is where it's tracking, 230 to 250. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, 250 is the high end of the tracking even. So, I don't think it's going to quite beat that. I don't think it will beat Force Awakens. Force Awakens, it's just a whole other ball game, the Force Awakens, because, it's Star Wars coming back after years, and we get three Marvel movies a year. So this is, the second one of this year. I don't believe it's going to get the high end of that projection. I'm thinking it'll be on the lower end, but, it's definitely, that would definitely be crazy if it did.
But even to say that, even on the lower end of that, it would still come out to be the number 2 all time for opening box office weekend, which is I still find crazy. But you know what?
Yeah, no, that is still awesome.
What you are looking forward to the most, and we can get into our ranking of the MCU movies so far.
Sweet.
I'll put a disclaimer out there. I'm not sure if you feel the same way. Is that even for Star Wars, when I rank those movies, depending on a day, maybe 1 or 2 might switch of those films. Now, with the MCU, we've had 19 films so far, 19 or 18. I should know since I just did my list.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's between those 2 numbers. It's a lot of movies. So, for me, This is my list as of now. It's my list as of a few days ago. But a number of these movies are easily interchangeable. I'm not sure if you felt the same way when you came up with your list.
I think, yeah, I felt that for sure. And I even felt like some of these movies I've watched recently, like within the past year. Some of them I haven't seen in years, and I've only seen them once. So, like, you might be surprised where I have the original Iron Man, but, I only saw it one time on Blu-ray at home, and that was years ago when, I've seen Black Panther in a movie theater, like, just a few months ago. So that's also something to consider, where it's almost not even a one-for-one comparison because you have totally different experiences with these movies. So maybe I'll watch Iron Man tomorrow, and then Iron Man is above everything all of a sudden. But as of right now, as of April 22nd, 2018, the condition that I'm in and how I've experienced all these movies, this is the list as of now. But, like, even if it does change, it's obviously not going to change too much because that's just, opinions change, but it's not going to be drastic. I don't believe so anyways. But
I'm
good.
Same thing.
And,
all right, now
do you
I'll
wanna
lead
go?
off
Cool.
on mine. Yeah, we talked about how we're going to deliver this. I'm going to present my ranking up until number 3. I'm going to lead it off to Jake. He's going to go to 3, and then we're going to go from there. So because of that, this is a long-ass list. So I'm going to try not to go into too much of, of the movie itself. I'll throw my list out there. So, if I got my number right, if you want to fact check me, with 19 movies, what's coming in at the bottom. Now, again, I'll put a disclaimer out there, is that there's all film is subjective. So for me, with this list, there's not one movie in the MCU that I hate. It either goes from I liked it, I really liked it, I loved it. It goes from there. So down here is the ones like, yeah, okay, I liked it. And it will be Thor: The Dark World. When I watched it the first time, I didn't dislike it as much as most people. I thought it was, there was some fun to be had with it. It's definitely the worst of the Thor trilogy, in my opinion. When I thought about my list, I've only seen this movie once, and I just have never really wanted to go back to it, so it's there. So I don't hate it, don't love it. It's like, okay, it's, all right, we got it. Coming in at my number 18, and that is, if I'm correct here with the number, would be Iron Man 2. It's a movie that I don't dislike it. I do like the movie. I think Iron Man 2 was key for this whole universe. It opened up a lot of doors. However, some of those doors held the movie back a bit, but as a whole, I did like it. Now, 17 here. It's a movie that I'm not sure if people forget that it's in the MCU. I've talked to some people and they didn't even realize it was, but it would be The Incredible Hulk. I think it is I'm not sure I don't know where it's at for the general public, because, I was very young then, and I wasn't as into, do people like this, people died. It was just, I liked the movie, so that's all I cared about. I liked the movie. I remember seeing it in theaters, and I remember when Tony shows up at the end and being like, oh my goodness, that's Tony Stark. And it came out, I think, like 4 months after the first Iron Man. So I did enjoy it quite a bit. Now, I've already lost count. What am I going at, 16?
That's all right. I have no idea.
Iron Man 3. Yeah, I'll just go from there. I'm already losing count. So many movies. Iron Man 3. Iron Man 3 is a movie that I do like it. There's a twist in there that some people were very angry about with the Mandarin. I thought it was hilarious, and this movie, it worked for me, but I can see where people are like, it's more of a Shane Black movie than an MCU movie. You get more Tony than Iron Man, but I'm okay with that. I'll watch Robert Downey Jr. do anything. I think the MCU casting as a whole has been on point, but the biggest get is definitely Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. Which, if you want to get in the history, that he was not their first choice, nor did they want him. It was Jon Favreau who really pushed for him. Now, after that, where I'm going with this is Thor, the first Thor. It is a good movie in my opinion. I think it's a very good movie. I really did enjoy it. However, it's one of the MCU movies where I've watched a few times, but I don't go back regularly to watch. Now, what I got coming up after that is Captain America: The First Avenger. That is I think it's a solid movie. A solid movie. When I think of the Captain America trilogy, it would be on the low. It's my 3 for the trilogy, but I do think it is a solid movie to start off the amazingness of the Captain America trilogy. And it was the movie right before Avengers. You know, I think the post-credit scene was Cap waking up and walking out New York, and there he is. I think very good movie. Now, after that is Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Volume 2. It's when I think of this movie, I've only watched it 3 times, but even 3 times, I mean, it came out like a year ago now, not even a year yet. So 3 times, I think that's pretty good. I enjoyed the movie. I can understand the criticisms behind it. However, I enjoyed watching the whole crew do their thing. I even like Kurt Russell as the villain. I'm not sure where that ranked for people. I enjoyed it. Now, next. I just recently rewatched this movie 2 days ago, Avengers: Age of Ultron. And you put out a tweet. Would you want to say the tweet that you put out about Avengers: Age of Ultron if you remember it?
I don't remember. I remember tweeting about it because I remember watching it. Something about it having some of the best moments in the MCU, even though there's some cringy humor in it. I think that's
okay.
That's about it.
Yeah, that was pretty much the tweet. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you there, but
No, it's fine.
I feel somewhere in the middle of that tweet, because I do think Age of Ultron has like some really good moments, but the humor is just, I mean, some works, and it's a movie I remember liking a lot when I first seen it, but like I'm at the point where, like, to me it's like a solid 7 for me. I enjoy it, but I do think the humor takes away from it, and this is not something I thought about that much until rewatching it again. And it's not to bash on Joss Whedon. I do think he is a very good writer and director. But and I can't remember if this was in the first Avengers, but there's a scene in here, and it's when Ultron, they're at the Avenger Tower, and Ultron now he's starting his attack, and Black Widow and Banner are at this bar, and she pulls him over, and then they fall down, and Bruce falls on her tits. Now, I didn't think of it, but then I'm thinking of Justice League now. There's a scene in Justice League when the Flash falls on Wonder Woman's boobs. Is that just Joss Whedon's thing to have male dudes fall on some tits? That. Is that his thing?
Maybe.
Was that in the first Avengers? Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah, I only thought of that as like a Joss Whedon thing after seeing Justice League, because that happens in Justice League with the Flash falling on Wonder Woman. So I was, I mean, okay. That it didn't take me out of the movie, but it was in light of recent things that came out of Joss Whedon. It's made me think more of that. Which were no Harvey Weinstein things that came out, just that he cheated on his wife a bunch. But we're not here to get into that. We're here to talk about some fun times with the MCU.
Oh yeah,
right.
So much fun. Here we go.
Yeah. After that, we're getting some more fun here. We're getting actual fun.
Okay. Yeah.
We're getting to Doctor Strange. I think this is number 8. Okay, let me see.
Yeah, you can count. Just count. I'll fill the time by talking. Hey,
okay. Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. Doctor Strange. That's coming up next. Movie. Really dug. Watched it recently. I think it still holds up. I really like it. I like the trippiness. Let me move on right into Ant-Man. It's a movie that came out like 4 or 5 months after Age of Ultron. When I seen Ant-Man, I fucking loved it. Can't wait for Ant-Man and the Wasp. I love it. I gotta say, these are the ones where I'm starting to love the MCU movies. And I would say after Ant-Man is when I do truly love all these movies. And coming after Ant-Man is Black Panther. Recently came out. This was the hardest part for me, was from Black Panther on, of where these movies fell. My number one, it's been like that for me. My number one's my number one. I'll get to that later. But here's where I had the hard part, is from Black Panther and on. Is that Black Panther maybe a year from now could climb up 2 spots, but as of now, Black Panther is where it's at. Solid film. You've heard us talk about it a lot, so I won't talk about it too much, other than I love it. After that, Guardians of the Galaxy. I was late to Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't see it until maybe 5 months after.
What?
Its release.
Really?
I seen it on Blu-ray.
Oh,
and
shit.
It's a movie. Yeah. It was a movie I missed in theaters, which I don't remember what was going on in that time, but I remember it was not a good time when it came out in my life. I remember shit was going on. I just don't remember what shit. So that was why
Right.
I didn't see it in theaters. Now, I wish I seen it in theaters because it is an amazing movie. It's got the balance of humor. You care about these characters. It's just an awesome time. I love it. And even a lot of the MCU movies, I don't think their scores hold up, which there's a whole story of why they didn't pay to get great composers, but now that Marvel is with Disney and Kevin Feige is in charge of the movies, they're getting a really good composer, so the scores have been getting better. But Guardians of the Galaxy, its score I think is what at the time was one of the best and the use of music, great. After that, Spider-Man: Homecoming. I really liked the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man, loved the second one, but Spider-Man: Homecoming was the Spider-Man movie I've always wanted as a kid, and I love it. I adore the movie. And I think Tom Holland, what a get. That guy I think Tom Holland, as of now, from what I've seen, my favorite Spider-Man. He's just, when I think of Spider-Man, I think of, the character we got. I think they've nailed Spider-Man. And can't wait to see him in Infinity War. Now, after that is Thor Ragnarok. The trilogy of Thor. I feel like the trilogy of Thor is a lot like the trilogy of Wolverine, Logan, and to a lesser extent of that, because when the X-Men Origins came out, that was a terrible movie. Now, I'm not saying the first Thor is terrible, but there's just such a difference in quality of these 3 Thor movies, and they don't all necessarily feel like they're a whole trilogy, as why I bring the comparison of the Wolverine trilogy. Just, it doesn't feel like it's a true trilogy. Thor Ragnarok, I think, is firing on all cylinders. It's got the funnies, it's got the action, it's got everything. I love it. I've heard people have criticisms of, certain improv of it, but I loved it. And it's a movie I've watched a lot. And the song, Immigrant Song, I would have never thought that you could take a legendary song like that. And when I hear that song now, I think of Thor. I just think of the 2 sequences. Great use of Immigrant Song. Now, after that, this is my number 4, and then I leave it off to you. Is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. This was another one where I also missed in theaters because I believe it came out around, it was the same year as Guardians of the Galaxy, and circumstances why I wasn't able to see it in theaters, but it's a movie. I didn't love it at first when I had seen it, but the more I watch it, it has grown on me, and I can say now I do love it. Now I'm handing it off to you.
Wow, okay. I don't remember hearing The Incredible Hulk on your list. Where was that?
That was after, it was Thor: The Dark World, Iron Man 2, and Incredible Hulk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. That's all making sense. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, disclaimer before my list. I haven't seen The Incredible Hulk, and I was like, I'm going to watch it before the podcast. And then, time flew, and I was like, oh shit, we have to record the podcast already, and I never watched it. So there's that. But besides The Incredible Hulk, I can rank the rest. So I think for the most part, we have similar lists. Like the bottom of your list was eerily similar to the bottom of my list. And then we had a lot of movies up in the top 5 area that were similar. So I'm going to break it down. I'll try and go a little speedy, especially down near the bottom, because it's just movies I don't really care too much to talk about. But yeah, here we go. Okay, so the bottom of my list is Iron Man 2. Just really, it's not a bad movie. None of these are bad. That's, I think, high praise for Marvel, is that they've never made an actual bad movie. It's just they're they're so consistent, which is impressive. But Iron Man 2, underwhelming. Right above that, we have Thor: The Dark World. I heard a lot of criticisms about this before I watched it. I just watched it recently and I actually liked it more than I would have expected. But it's at the bottom, but just because the rest are really good to great. So, I don't mind Thor: The Dark World at all. Right above that is Captain America: The First Avenger. Kind of feel the same way about it as I do Thor: The Dark World. It's a good movie. It's solid. And right above that is Thor. Again, these lower echelon movies feel like very similar, like the order of them. So, Thor's right above that. I know Thor got, Chris Hemsworth and Natalie Portman, I believe, got criticized for their lack of chemistry. And in the first Thor, I actually, I was down for it. I bought it, but I guess I'm just the minority in that. Above that is Captain America: Civil War. This is definitely higher on most people's lists. It's just, I think it's a good movie, but there's a lot of stuff that I'm not the biggest fan of. But, the airport sequence is excellent, so that bumps this up, for the other parts that I'm not too fond of. Above that is Iron Man, the first Iron Man. Again, it's a little low because I've only watched it once and it was a long time ago. So I think it was closer to one of the first Marvel movies I watched. So in retrospect, I feel like I would enjoy it more because now, Marvel movies are very similar. But this was one of the first. The first. So I think if I watch back on it, I can have some more appreciation for it. And I would like to watch that again. Above that, I have Ant-Man. I loved Ant-Man when I saw it. I still am a big fan of it. I think Paul Rudd is excellent. And yeah. Above that, Age of Ultron. This movie, when I saw it in theaters, like, wow, that was so much fun. Watched it again after, and it's like, yeah, it's still good, but like some of the humor is rough. And then I waited a bit, and then I watched it again recently, a year or two later, 2 or 3 years later, whenever, and I have more respect for it. I love Ultron, actually. I think he's a great villain, and his introduction when he first shows up right after the hammer lifting scene is amazing, and that's one of the best scenes in a Marvel movie ever. Him and Vision in the forest is one of the best ever. But you have to get past like the swearing jokes where, they say shit in language. Like that's some of the cringiest humor in the MCU. Above that, Iron Man 3. Love the non-Iron Man stuff of this movie. Just Tony Stark and the kid walking around is amazing. I think the third act is actually less interesting to me than the first two because just like the millions of Iron Man suits, I wasn't down for that as much as the beginning. Like the Shane Black movie elements are great. Shane Black is great, so there's that. Thor Ragnarok is above Iron Man 3. This movie is super funny and a lot of fun. And, just when I think about it, I think of Taika Waititi's character. And what was his name? The Rock
Korg.
dude. Korg, yes. And he's
Korg.
one of the best MCU movies. I love that so much. It has its problems. I think Mark Ruffalo sleepwalks through this movie. And that really, I was really not a fan of, the Hulk and when he's Bruce Banner. But, that's for another time, I guess. But right above that, it's still a really good movie, a great movie. Right above that is Black Panther. We've talked so much about Black Panther on this show. Don't think I have to say much more. Right above Black Panther is Doctor Strange. I love the trippy element to this movie. And its themes about life and death I thought were really powerful. And, it's very Iron Man-y. But I like how he's kind of like Iron Man, but even more of a dick. And like he's not a lovable dick. He's just kind of a dick. And I think it works really well for the movie. So I love Doctor Strange. Oh, how many do I have left? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's wow. That's my top 5 already. Just before we go any farther, like there's I'm looking at my list now. I'm like Doctor Strange and my 5 and 4 spot. Like, they could always flip. I don't know. And then I'm looking at like Black Panther, Thor, Iron Man 3, Age of Ultron. Like those 4 could also kind of flip. So we opened with a disclaimer, but just mentioning it there that I look at it again and I'm like, oh wow, I don't know. So let's move into. Oh wait, we're doing top 3. Okay, sorry. Here we go. Anyways, I forgot. Let's go with number 5 then. Here we go. Spider-Man: Homecoming. I thought we were doing top 5 for a second, then I realized, wait, nope, we're doing top 3. So. Spider-Man: Homecoming. I saw it in theaters, of course, and I thought this is totally underwhelming. It's pretty much Iron Man, but a kid. Well, just like the way the character is designed, where, he has a lot of tech, and that's it. That's very Iron Man-y, and that really put me off. So, I thought it was fine. Then I rewatched it on Blu-ray knowing this, and I think it worked a lot better. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I changed my mind on it. I think it's really funny. It's one of the funnier Marvel movies. All the TV stuff in the school where the students make the TV programming is so funny and so accurate. That's like some of the funniest stuff in MCU movies, hands down. Above that at number 4.
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off there.
No,
I don't
go
want
ahead.
to cut you off. I was just, I hadn't talked about Spider-Man with you since you had seen it. And it's definitely surprising hearing the change. And to quickly comment, the TV stuff, it took me right back into the first high school I went to, because it was exactly like that. Sorry to take away from your time.
No, I had the same high school experience. My high school was in our Comtech class. That's exactly how it felt. I love that so much. That was amazing. Nothing beats no one beats Tobey Maguire for me. The Sam Raimi trilogy is still amazing. 3's all right, but I mean, like, Spider-Man 2 is one of the best superhero movies ever made. But for what Spider-Man Homecoming is, it's a whole different kind of movie. So, I was expecting something else, but for what it is, it's great, and I'm happy with it. And I'm glad I'm at the place I am with that movie, finally. Number 4 is Captain America: The Winter Soldier. 2014 was probably my favorite year in movie history. And this came out that year. There's another one higher up on my list that also came out this year, but The Winter Soldier is really effective, and it's great. I think if I'm looking at this list, it was the first Marvel movie I saw in theaters where I was like, wow, this is amazing. In the context of the greater MCU, I think I'm kind of off that amazing train. Like, I think it's really great, but yeah, it's definitely great. I don't know what else to say about that, but yeah, here we are, my top 3 now. So how do you want to do this? Would you like to give me your 3 all together?
I will give it to you. I'm going to lay it all on the table here. So, where I left off was the same as you, Winter Soldier. Now, to go into my number 3, it's Iron Man. For me, maybe nostalgia has to play onto this, but okay, you know what? We're gonna get in. We're gonna pull the curtain back here for a second. So, I got a text here, and I got a message on Skype, and I think it's something we should talk about real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I get a message from Jake over here, and it says, "I really have to pee." So I think to be nicer, I'm gonna let you go. You go release, and I'll talk about my 3. And when you come back, I'll just name the 3 that I had already talked about.
Okay, sounds good. I'm probably gonna be back before you start going, so I'm just gonna, like, when I come back, I'm gonna be like, all right, okay. I'm back. So don't talk to me anymore. Just talk to the audience. All right, and audience, just pretend like I'm not here. All right, which I'm gonna talk to this audience. Okay. Yeah. I have to go urinate. Be right back.
This guy.
Yeah. Professionalism. All right. That's all right. It's the Jake and Ben show. Here we are.
Very good professionalism.
Go ahead. You got this. Bye-bye.
I get a text from here. I think it's somebody else, and I see, he's got to pee. So, I get the message on Skype, so I figured, hey, this guy's got to pee. Let's let him go pee. So, where I was at with Iron Man, I feel nostalgia has to play a lot into this, is that it is a movie that I can just think back of being in the movie theater. And it's 10 years ago now. I was like 12, something like that. Very young. And I just remember being captured from this. It was a movie I loved. Robert Downey Jr., like I've said, I think he's the best get for the MCU. And I love this movie. Every time I go back to it, I love it. And maybe nostalgia has to play on that, but I love it. So, my number 2 will be the Avengers, the first Avengers. And that, I think, would have to be another nostalgia thing. Now, not just to say, because nostalgia, it's there. I think Iron Man is great. I think the Avengers is great. Why they're up high also, not just because they're great, it's because nostalgia plays onto that. And with the Avengers, it's the first time seeing the Avengers assembled on screen. I think it was a hell of a time. I think there's fun, there's heart, you get the action. I absolutely love this movie. Every time I go back, I just have a hell of a time with it.
All right, I'm back. What did I miss?
To my number 1. All right. Okay. Yeah, you missed. I talked about Iron Man, saying how it's my number 3 because
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
because of a nostalgia, but I do remember 10 years ago being in theater and experiencing that and loving it.
Oh
And
yeah, okay.
The Avengers is my number 2, and
Ooh,
yeah,
good
so my
number
number
two.
1
Yes.
is Captain America: Civil War. It is. I love this movie. I remember being in theater seeing this and just how you
Wow.
mentioned when you'd seen Winter Soldier and you're like, wow, that's amazing when you've seen it. Me, when I seen Civil War, I was like, yeah, this is fucking awesome. And for me, from starting way back 10 years ago, being in theaters and remembering Iron Man, I feel just all of this being it building up. And when you see the Avengers, you see the tension between Tony and Steve. And even more, you build on some of that in Age of Ultron. And just to see it all build, I cared about it. It wasn't just they had a fight and I don't care. Okay, these guys are just fighting. I cared of why they were fighting. I looked at both sides and I can understand both sides. And even to the climactic fight that happens is that even then I've heard criticisms of, well, what the fuck was up with Tony? He knew what was going on. Why didn't he's seeing his parents be murdered by a guy standing, and spoilers, I guess we haven't seen it. He's seeing his parents being murdered right in front of him. Come on, he's not gonna think rationally. He's just gonna think that's the guy, like he says. I don't care. He killed my mom. I get it. I understand. And to me, Baron Zemo, not I don't want to have a rivalry here, but I know you are a lover of BVS. Now, why I bring that up? It came around like they came out 2 months apart or a month apart, and there is a lot of similar beats in there. I feel Baron Zemo, he wasn't the thing. Again, I don't want to go on and the conversation of both movies, but with Lex Luthor, Lex Luthor made, I felt, in my opinion, and this is just mine, it's all subjective, is that he made Superman and Batman just look like a bunch of idiots, and especially with Batman being the world's greatest detective, he just seemed like, come on, if you're supposed to be the world's greatest detective, it just annoyed me. So with Baron Zemo, he didn't seem like, as much as he was the guy pulling strings, it wasn't so much like everybody's an idiot for what's going on. He just used circumstances around everything that went on to already build attention that was there. So for me, is why it worked. But truly, the real villain of the movie is whichever side you're on. I loved it. I love the movie, and I think it's a great movie. It's my number 1.
Wow. Okay. So I think the Civil War was our biggest difference because that's, I think, my bottom 5, and that's your number 1. Wow.
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
when
just
you
like,
said it was that low. But yeah, to me, number 1. Love
okay,
it.
just some fun there. You brought up Batman v Superman. I'll just go on a little tangent here. I'm drinking out of my collectible Batman v Superman cup right now, which is abnormally large, and it's filled with water. So that's why I had to take the little break a few minutes ago. So I'm happy you mentioned Batman v Superman, so I could explain that. Yeah, just to add on, before I go give you my top 3, I'll just add on to some of your thoughts about Civil War, because just it was your number 1. It merits talking about again. Zemo, I'm actually a fan of Zemo. I think he works as a villain, and I do like the scene that you were talking about with Iron Man and wanting to kill Bucky, because you were saying, like, or like Iron Man said, he just killed my mom. I think that's an effective scene and moment. I think a lot of my problems come down to about Civil War is it feels very much the same, and it also feels like Iron Man is just so incredibly right, and it's ridiculous to even think that there's another side to the story, another side that you would even consider to be a part of. Regulations is just something that exists in the world and in the government, and to just have everything unregulated and just go wild is absurd to me. And the whole universe has proved that they need some boundaries, especially Age of Ultron. So to be against it and to just go free reign, I think is just a little ridiculous.
To me, yeah, not to cut you off there, but it's discussion here. To me,
Yeah.
what I think is effective about that movie is that it sounds like you're clearly Team Iron Man, is that you have these sides to choose, and then the villain is what side you choose. And I feel, building off of Winter Soldier, to me, the other side, I can understand it, because if you're Captain America, the Boy Scout who went through what he went through in Winter Soldier with Hydra really being in control. You don't know who to trust. So, like he even says, all right, so we signed this, and now we're just puppets. They're going to tell us where to go. What if we need to be somewhere and they're not going to let us go? Or what if we're somewhere where we don't belong? And to me, which is why I think the other side of the discussion within the MCU makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
Personally, which is, to me,
especially mentioning
your
Winter Soldier
criticism of that is what I think was what worked with the movie. Yeah.
Interesting. I think like you mentioning Winter Soldier makes more sense. Like I get that side, but also to me, it's still like, who are you to decide when they can also decide? I don't know. It's just like, it feels very one-sided to me. Maybe like just looking back on it and reflecting on the film since the last time I saw it, it feels very one-sided. Maybe if I would rewatch it again, I'll realize the other side a little more. But there's still other things that bother me about it. It just feels very bland. Just like it's super marvelly. It's super great, and it sounds very similar. It's loud. I think it's funny. I think like there's some funny parts, and the airport scene is amazing, and the end scene with Cap, Bucky, and Iron Man is amazing too. It's just some other stuff in between it, and just
I gotta ask you a question.
Thematically. Go ahead.
I gotta ask you a question, and it's not so much about the film; it's more about Blu-rays. So,
okay,
I recently rewatched Civil War like twice within the last week, and Civil War and also Winter Soldier and the Age of Ultron. And when I'm watching my Blu-rays of these movies, everything is so loud except the dialogue. Now, do I just have a jacked up TV, or do you find that also? I have to crank that thing up to 70 to even hear this, or maybe my hearing is going. I don't think it is. But I mean, have you
probably just like,
has that ever been a problem?
I don't think that's been a problem. I notice that more like at nighttime when I'm trying to be quiet for my roommate who sleeps like the room right connected to mine, where I'm constantly turning it up and down. But if I'm just casually watching it, I don't find that to be a problem. Maybe it's just the sound system you have in your TV or with your TV. But yeah, just like a compression thing, maybe an equalizer of some kind. But yeah, I'm not an audio expert, so I'm not 100% sure.
I only experience it with I only experience it with my MCU movies. Like if I throw on like my Star Wars Blu-rays, or like if I'm watching something on like Netflix, normal.
Yeah, no, weird. I don't know.
Like a Civil War or Winter Soldier. It's weird. I always found that weird. But you know what? It's a topic for, myself, and next time I throw on a Blu-ray, I'll scream at my TV. So now I've given my top 3. You want to present your top 3? You want to smack us on the face?
Let's do it, yeah. And I have another Blu-ray story connected to my third pick, which is my third pick is The Avengers.
All right.
So I watched The Avengers back when it came out in 2012 on my TV, on video on demand, I believe. And I thought, this movie's fine, but I'm not that into it. Back in 2012, how old would I have been? Early teenager maybe. And I was like, I was into movies. I love movies, but I loved, like, when I was younger, like that young, I loved, like, weird horror movies. Like, I was into all the Saw movies and stuff, and this kind of thing didn't really appeal to me. So, I watched on video demand, whatever. And then I started getting into more variety of movies. I branched out from my weird horror niche films, and I started getting into everything, right? So I started collecting Blu-rays, and The Avengers was one of the first Blu-rays I bought because it's a big flashy movie. I thought, this will be awesome. I watched it on Blu-ray years later. This was probably around the same time I watched Iron Man. I don't know. Anyways, years later I watched it, and I loved it so much more with, I grew up a little. I got more into other movies. I think I may have watched some other MCU movies by this point, maybe. And I loved it. I think it's so funny, and the chemistry between all the characters works so well. It is one of, if not the most fun. It's the second most fun Marvel movie. And saying that, my number 2 pick is Guardians of the Galaxy. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy a few times in theaters, and every time I loved it, and I still love it. It is unique. You for the first time, you don't get, or I guess not the first time. Yeah, for the first time, you're not on Earth, and you're not with the characters, You're somewhere else. Of course, you got Star-Lord from Earth, and it just opens on Earth, but you're elsewhere in the universe with a whole new group of characters. and it's bizarre. You got a tree, you got a raccoon. It's bizarre, and I love it for that. I love how unique Guardians was. Of course, it's still, like I always say, it's still marvelly enough, but it is unique enough and different enough that it was a breath of fresh air, and I love the characters so much, and I love the humor so much still that I love this movie. Number 1, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So, very clearly, yes, very clearly a Guardians fan. And I think Guardians 2 is arguably the smartest MCU movie. The heart that is in Guardians 2 with Star-Lord and his father was the most touching. And just not just that, but with Merle. What the fuck is the blue guy's name again? I'm forgetting it all of a sudden. Yondu. With Yondu. Just the the father son element of this movie is so touching, and that stuff just got to me. And I know there's a lot of criticisms about they sacrifice a lot of drama for a lot of comedic moments, but to me that emotion and that drama seeps through these comedic moments and still works at the end. When they're fighting, he turns into Pac-Man. I still feel it, and it is surprising. I've never had, okay, maybe for the exception of The Force Awakens, I've never had this much fun in a movie theater in my life. I saw an IMAX. I couldn't believe how fun it is. The opening wonder is amazing. Ego the Living Planet is the best villain in the MCU. Maybe he's up there with the Black Panther villain Killmonger. I'm not sure in the review if I said he's the best. I don't think so, but Killmonger's one of the best, but I think Ego the Living Planet is the best. Just, he has this connection to Star-Lord that's just deeper than anything else we've seen in the MCU. And it's so funny. It's so much fun. I know a lot of my friends give me shit for, loving this movie as much as I do and how high I rank it and how I think it's better than some of these other movies. But, I stand beside Guardians 2. I love Guardians 2. I think, even those gold people, like, I know a lot of people have problems, like the first 45 minutes, it kind of like stumbles. They say, the gold villain people don't work. But like, no, to me, all of it works really well. And it's just like this really poppy, fun, colorful, emotionally moving film that just resonates with me. And I can't believe how much it works for a movie about a raccoon and a little tree. And yeah, anyways, I'll stop gushing about Guardians 2.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe we can continue some gushing. Is that with the movie, I obviously am not in the same place as you of loving it, but I think where the movie works the most is with the emotion behind it. Is I do feel it. Maybe not as much as you, but I feel it. And I think that's where the heart is. I think the movie has a lot of heart and there's a lot of emotion behind it. And I think Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 has the single best moment in all of the MCU.
Wow.
And do you know what that moment is?
Is it the David Hasselhoff moment?
It has the single best moment. No, it's on Mary Poppins, y'all. That's
right.
The
yes.
best fucking moment in
Yeah.
all
No,
of the MCU.
that's excellent. Yeah.
I love it. I think that is the best moment.
Yeah.
And I mean, even after when he's saying to Peter Quill had the line go when he says he may have been your father, but he wasn't your daddy, or something like that. He may have been your daddy, but he wasn't your father. That line, I think it really works a lot. And for a lot of criticisms of the MCU of how there's no real weight behind certain deaths, is that I feel you really feel that one. And
oh, definitely.
It was the first, I think, MCU movie where I got affected by a death in it, because it was an actual death and it had meaning behind it and weight. And I do think the meaning, the message behind that was the strongest part of the movie. For me, Ego the Living Planet was not the best villain, but I think he was on pace to be like top 3. However, he lost me within the third act, because he went from being a guy who, I can understand, I get it, and then he goes into just, I'm a villain. And the third act for me, that where it lost me from being one of the best, but I would say he may be in my top 5. I think Kurt Russell, I love him, so I was happy to see him in there. And I mean, even sure. Another thing, which is a small thing to like about the film, which is why I'll say like and not love, because it was really small, and it even it put more weight to Yondu's eventual sacrifice is Sly Stallone's role in it. It was very small, but I think it added much more to Yondu. And I loved
just
it.
what
However,
a unique,
I think it was some of the most
actor to see in the MCU in such a small part. I thought that was great.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in
Yeah,
the
when
movie,
I
and
heard
he's just there. It
Stallone was
awesome.
in there, I was like, Stallone? Yeah, I remember hearing that he was going to be in there, and I'm a Stallone guy, and it was nice to see him in there. It's nice to see him.
Yeah, and just something...
The post-credits, I think, were the worst part of the movie, in my opinion. I think...
See, I don't even remember the post-credits. Oh, there was a lot of them, right?
Yeah, there was like 5 of them, and they were all useless. To me, that was my least favorite of the movie.
Is that the one where
to me,
Stan
what I liked
Lee
about
is with
the
like the
post-credits
Watchers or something? I believe is that what they're called?
Yeah, Stan Lee's with the Watchers, and I mean this one's funny, but it really doesn't mean anything. It's when Peter Quill walks in Groot's room and he's teenage Groot. He's telling him to clean up.
Yeah, see, I was a fan of these end credit scenes.
I mean, they were cool for the time, but the reason what I liked about the post credit scenes is that they'll give you a nugget of what's to come, and there's some meaning behind it. And in like the past few years, they've just like given us like stuff like scenes that don't really mean anything. They can be funny, but I liked them when they had some like here's a nugget of something to come.
Yeah,
and they plant things.
I get that.
I feel like that's
want to
lacking,
point
but
out,
it's small criticism.
I like how dark this movie can get at moments, like when they're throwing out everyone into space, and Yondu's just like tied down watching it, and all like that is like incredibly dark. Like that's fucking like it disturbed me, and I loved it. It was great. But yeah, just something that's another shout out for that low moment. But yeah, that's my list, and yeah.
Hey, and yeah, last thing to finish off on there. It came out in May of last year. Yeah, May of last year, so which would mean a year later, Infinity War. And in the first Guardians, obviously, you see Thanos there. You're introduced to some of his, children there, Nebula, Gamora, and to build a little bit more on what they went through as kids was nice to hear nuggets, especially a year out. We get Infinity War now. We're coming onto the week of Infinity War, and to hear just their relationship with Thanos was nice.
Yeah, no, that's definitely another thing.
There's our list.
Who's going to die in Infinity War?
Who's going to die? That is a very good question. And we're going to find out soon. And, we have another list for you, because lists are the thing of, the 2018 lists.
I love lists. I'm a huge fan of lists. I like everything in lists, so I'm down for lists all the time. If every episode could be listing something, I'd be down for it.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll see what we can do about that. I mean, listing, I get it. Yeah. So, at Deathpool, who's gonna die? There's no like top whatever, and there's a bunch of different ways you can do a Deathpool, but we've just put out people we think are gonna die, and I don't know who you think is gonna die. I haven't told you my list, but got a bunch of characters written down, and you tell me who is gonna die in Infinity War.
Okay. So the way I thought about it is I'm just going to put characters who I actually think are going to die. I'm not going to make like 10 names and be like, these guys have a chance. I'm calling it. I'm calling a small group of people are going to die and others are not going to. So that's kind of how I did it. So my list is small. It's 4 people. I think these 4 will die and that's it. So if you would like to hear my 4, I can go ahead with these 4.
I would love to hear your 4, because I think it would be anticlimactic for you to say that and then just say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to give you the 4.
Okay. This Skype so far has been pretty shitty, and there's been this weird delay, and you still sound like a robot. So I hope people who are listening hasn't been like, this is super awkward, but Skype has kind of been really shitty this week, today. So next week, hopefully we're a little quicker. So I apologize for that. And anyways, I'll just give you my 4. All right, so I'll give you a little explanation with each one, and yeah. So let's go first. I think also another disclaimer: I haven't watched any. Like I watched the very first trailer, and that's it. I haven't watched any of the TV spots or trailers or read really anything about this movie. So I'm just gonna say who I think is gonna die and give you my reasoning for it. So there might be stuff I'm missing, or news that came out that I don't know about or anything. So again, that's a disclaimer. Here we go. I think we're going to lose Nick Fury for good. Unlike the Winter Soldier fake out, I think Nick Fury's dead because I don't See, I don't know about actors' contracts or any of this stuff. I just don't think Sam Jackson gives a fuck too much anymore. He's been in this thing for a long time. I think we're slowly seeing him dwindle in these movies anyways. I think we're going to lose Nick Fury. Next up, I think we're going to lose Hawkeye. He hasn't been in any promotional material, the posters, trailers, nothing. And, he's kind of an inconsequential character maybe because, he doesn't have his own movies. The first Avengers, he was kind of like the villain because he was brainwashed, of course. It's just like he's just there. And I don't think they're going to kill off a whole whack of huge characters right now. I think maybe the next one is when we're going to start to lose characters. But I think, for now, Hawkeye. And then the two big ones I think we're going to lose are, I'll give you one. I think we're going to lose Loki. He's been around for a long time. A great villain. He's already had a fake out death, I think, twice. I think now he's actually going to go. I saw a trailer where he's handing up the Tesseract, I believe. I think maybe this is where he dies. Kevin Feige, I believe, mentioned a death. And we might have talked about this on the show, a death in like the first 20 minutes or something big in the first 20 minutes that it's just going to be like, oh shit, this is serious.
I'll reference that one.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think maybe that would be Loki, just because I don't know too much about it, but you'll probably go into more detail. And I think the biggest death we're going to get this movie is Thor. Thor's had his trilogy. I think his Loki's going to go, so I think Thor's going to go. He's had his trilogy. He's great. It's time. It's honestly time for a new era of the MCU. So, we're getting, I think like Spider-Man, Black Panther, those guys, Doctor Strange are they're a lock to be okay. They're going to be fine. All the new guys are going to be fine. I think Thor has to watch out, and I think maybe next movie they kill Iron Man or Captain America, but I think it's Thor. Thor's time to go. So I think Nick Fury, Hawkeye, Loki, and Thor are going to die. What do you think about this list, and who do you think is going to die? Holy shit, I can't speak. My throat hurts. We're doing it. Let's go.
Yeah, we're going for it. All right. I like your list. There's one guy in your list that, there's a few we share, but there's one guy in particular that I am like, I've when I talk to people, I'm like, this is what's going to happen. Now, I'll start off with also saying that I haven't watched any TV spots. I watched the first trailer, the second one, that's it. I mean, there's some stuff I've seen set photos for Avengers 4. There's some little nuggets I've heard and seen here and there. Other than that, there's nothing major. I've stayed away from spoilers. I'll save the one definite one for last because I think there's a discussion there. You mentioned Nick Fury. I think that is a guy who has a chance of dying, but then when I think of things I have heard, maybe not this movie, but I'm still putting him in there. Why I say that is, I guess, spoilers out there. Again, I don't know. This is just things I've heard. These could be true, could be not, but maybe if this is just something I think I heard and you don't want to know because what if it comes out to be true, then spoilers there. So from what Nick Fury, he's going to be in Captain Marvel, which takes place in the 90s. Now, I remember when Infinity War was coming, and this could just be an actor playing coy. When Infinity War was filming, people were talking to Sam Jackson. He was saying, hey, I ain't got a call yet. And then it was that, okay, he's got the call for Avengers 4. If that is the case, I think he's a goner definitely in 4. Maybe he's just playing coy because he's not supposed to say anything. But
just a question.
He's a goner.
So like if like say Nick Fury dies in Infinity War and then he stays in the MCU in flashbacks, like we're still considering that a death, right? Like he doesn't come back in present time. He's just
that would be a death essentially. Yeah,
like
so
it's not like a death is like
Infinity
we never
War.
See the character again. It's just like it's just a death.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He could. I mean, look at like Howard Stark. He's the guy who died, but you see him in Cap, you see him in flashbacks here, like in Ant-Man. I think it could be like that, which is essentially what Captain Marvel will be. It's taking place in the 90s, so his death, if he dies in Infinity War, he's dead, since that's taking place in the past. Now, another one who I think is going to die is Pepper Potts. We didn't have her for a while.
Shit.
And
Fuck.
She's introduced. Well, she's brought back in Spider-Man: Homecoming. I think she's a goner. And this was something I didn't think about too much. But I remember when the first trailer came out and you see Thanos hit Iron Man just that one punch and it's like, yo, Thanos fucking killed Iron Man.
Pepper Potts is in the suit.
How the fuck do you get up from something like that? And yeah, I mean, I've heard people say that. And
that's what I've
to
thought.
me, I want to say I think she's there and I think she's dead. However,
Fuck.
the thing that maybe can hold me back on thinking that 100%, what keeps me from 100%, I'm like 80% sure, but what keeps me back from 100 is that it looks like they're on Titan in that scene, which maybe not, but if they are, I think we've only seen the Guardian, Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and Iron Man there. Maybe that is her, but I do think she's a goner.
Okay, I added her
Vision,
to my list.
I think is yeah. So
I now have 5, so I have
I think-
5. So just like
I think
in the
Vision-
future when we watch this, yes.
Yeah. Okay. I think I've got like 5 or 6. I didn't do full count. I think Vision is a guy who's a flip of the coin. I think one thing I have heard from the Russo brothers is that Vision, he's like the walking MacGuffin of the film, is that he's got the stone, and bad shit's gonna happen. It's just a matter of does it or does it not. I think bad shit's gonna happen, and regardless if he dies when the gem's taken out of him, I think he is a goner. I do think so. I think another goner. I'll say I'll save these two because those interchangeable.
Can I jump in
Nebula.
on the Vision
I
point
think
there?
Gamora or Nebula have to. Sorry, what's that?
Could I just jump in on the Vision comment? I just want to
Yeah.
just talk
go
about the
ahead.
Vision thing for a little bit before you go any farther. It's weird because like Vision, he's a smaller character, but he's also a newer character, and like I was saying, like I think the newer ones are safe. So, but he feels unique because he's not actually, he doesn't have his own movies like Spider-Man or Black Panther, but he also feels like an obvious pick. So maybe that's why I didn't pick him, just because it's like he has the stone. It feels like it's too obvious for him to die. So I think there's going to be a little something going on there where he loses the stone, but it doesn't equal his death. He's going to be trapped in like a human form or trapped like something.
Yeah.
That's just, something like that. Anyways, you can continue.
Yeah, and I'll to even what you said on when you did yours is that I think Infinity War, there'll be a meaningful death, but I think it's more the B team that's going in this one to pave the way for the A team to start dying off in 4. With that, I'll go on to a guy who I think has a shot to go, and that would be the Hulk, Bruce Banner. I think, and it's not one I've heard much people talk about, but when you hear about Kevin Feige and Mark Ruffalo talk, is that they were going to do this 3-story arc within Ragnarok. I can't say Hulk then, because what I'm just about to say is that there's supposed to be this 3-movie arc of Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Avengers 4, so that takes them off the list then. That's Avengers 4. So, you know what? Scratch that. Then I'll go on to... I think there is a 50-50 shot that Cap dies in Infinity War. I think if it's not Infinity War, it's definitely Avengers 4. And another thing that may go against that, but again, this would be... spoilers here for Avengers 4. These are from set photos, so spoiler alert there. Give it 3 seconds. In the set photos, you see which would be a flashback, or I don't even know exactly what it is. Maybe it's time travel of Iron Man and Cap, and it looks like from the first Avengers. Cap is in his uniform from then. You see Tony there, and he's not in suit; he's just Tony. You also see Ant-Man there, which is okay. So, do we get some crazy time travel? Is everything fucked up from what happens? Do we end this movie with the snap? Is everything in shambles? Maybe he dies in this one and we go back in time, something happens. But I think ultimately that if Cap dies, he's staying dead. Now, that's why I think it's 50-50. Just set photos I've seen. I don't know what the hell's going on there. So he could be dead, he could not be. So I think there's a 50-50 that he's dead. I think that Iron Man or Tony Stark could still bring more to the table in the MCU without having to be a main player. He could have small little roles like he did in Homecoming. He could have a supporting role like he did in Civil War. I think there is still some more to add, and I feel like with Cap's demise, you would definitely feel it with Tony, but I feel like Captain America at this point now, his death would maybe have more significance behind it. Because not to say he could still have more to do, but I feel if of the two characters, I think Tony still has a bit more to do. If he's to die, all right. Now, the discussion here is, I'm not going to go yet to the one I think 100%, but this guy leads into that, is, I'm probably going to fuck up the pronunciation, even though I've heard it all the time. Heimdall, and Idris Elba's character. Now, when we leave Thor Ragnarok, Asgard is on this ship. And as you see in the post-credit scene, when Loki's like, hey, you think they're going to accept me there? And Thor's like, yeah, you know what? I think everything's going to be all right. What do we see? We see Thanos' ship. Now, this goes on to why I think Loki is... I'm 100% sure that he's dead within the first 5 minutes. And I'll say that because, like you mentioned with the Kevin Feige thing. Now, what you were referencing there is Kevin Feige came out and said, within the first 5 minutes, you're going to realize how much of a badass Thanos is. And with seeing the second trailer, and even the first, when Loki hands over the cube, that I gotta assume that's on their ship. And as we see, there's dead bodies. People are gonna have to die there, and even with the Comic-Con trailer that got leaked, and even from what I heard about, there's a scene where, and even we see in the second trailer of, if you don't want to hear this, plug your ears for a few seconds, but Thanos squeezing Thor's head, and he throws him out into space. I assume that's how he meets the Guardians. So bad shit happens, and everybody from Ragnarok and Asgard... So everybody from Asgard is on that ship. People are gonna die, which is why I think Idris Elba is a goner. I think he is fucked up. Especially seeing the second trailer. Again, I guess plug your ears if you don't want to hear what was in there. It leads on to this cube scene. When he hands it over, you see Thanos crush it. And then you see his Black Order. One of them's got, their gun or staff to his head. I think he's gone, especially if you want to set up this impact.
I saved myself there. I took my headphones
I'm done.
You said. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm done there for that. I think I'm 100% sure Loki dies in Infinity War. If it's not in the first 5 minutes, I think it's definitely before third act. I think he's a goner.
Wow. Awesome. I'm glad we have the same top pick.
Yeah. It's my one speculation piece that I went on about. Because at first, when I was just something random I threw out there, I was like, yeah, Loki's going to be dead. But I started convincing myself of why. And from everything that I've seen and what I've heard, it just makes sense that he's dead there. It makes sense. And you'll get the impact of that also. He is a significant character that we've spent a lot of time with. And I think he's a goner. And you know what? I'm looking forward to see if any of these are right.
Significant character. He's a great character, yeah.
I think he's been significant within the MCU so far, definitely.
No, yeah, for sure.
Avengers, Thor the Dark World, Thor Ragnarok.
I was just saying, he's significant, but he's also he's a really interesting, good character. So that would be an effective death.
Yeah, exactly. So to kill off, a nice, good character that we care about, I think that is why he's a goner. Now, we've given our list, and as this gets out, Infinity War will probably be 4 days away. If it drops tomorrow. I mean, it's crazy. 4 days away. I can't wait. I'm so jacked up for this. It is. And one of the things I heard, which is not spoiler, this wouldn't be a spoiler, but they screened 30 minutes. They've been doing fan screenings, and they only do the first 30 minutes. And this one person who'd seen it, I forget who they are, but one of the things they're saying, from what I've seen, great action, love the humor, the chemistry between characters. And I remember people were like, what the fuck, Infinity War is gonna be funny? Oh my god, that stinks. If anybody is going to Infinity War thinking that this movie is gonna be the Godfather, there's gonna be funny beats to it, and especially with all these characters, it's gonna be funny. I would liken it to a Winter Soldier and a Civil War. Is that you have your serious moments, but it's also funny just based on character interactions, and which leads me on to, I didn't read this whole thing, but it was just the Russo brothers were talking about how Arrested Development influenced some of the humor in it. And are you Arrested Development fan? Have you seen anything of Arrested Development?
No, I haven't seen anything.
Okay, so I highly recommend this TV show. You go on Netflix, you can watch it. 4 seasons, 20 minutes. It wasn't the first thing they got their start on, but it was one of the bigger things that Anthony and Joe Russo had directed, and they direct the first episode, and I think in total 20 episodes, maybe 13, and it's a hilarious TV show. But just each character they're just funny when they all come together. Each of their humor is very different. So when they all come together, it's very unique. And which is why, I mean, I think for them, even just having their Arrested Development, in their, pocket, is what will make these character interactions unique based on, humor. Even Thor meeting the Guardians meeting Iron Man. I can't wait to see all this. I can't wait. And I mean, as I've said before, I can't wait to see Thanos. I remember when we talked and you were saying one of the things you were most excited for is just these character interactions. And as much as I'm really excited to see these character interactions, I'm most excited to see what Thanos brings to the table. And I hope he's not a goner in Avengers 3. And if he is, maybe they'll present it in a way where I love it. But I hope Infinity War is the Empire Strikes Back of, what's going on here. I want it to end on somewhat of a bad note. And you're like, where shit's bad. I want Thanos to come out somewhat on top and go on to 4, and then they take him down then.
Yeah, see, I don't think I have a preference on what they do with Thanos now. Because, I mean, they could, like you're saying, do the Empire Strikes Back thing and hold the villain until the next one and then take him down there. But, this movie could be amazing and have him killed off in this movie. So I don't know if I have a preference. Just whatever this movie wants to present to me, I'm open for it. But, yeah, I've never seen Arrested Development, but it's definitely an interesting angle to take to it. Yeah, we talked about Thanos and how you're super excited for Thanos, and I'm super excited to see all these characters come together. But, I mean, that doesn't take away my excitement of Thanos. I'm very curious to see his power and just what he can do. This opening 5 minutes thing has got me really curious to see this. Like, I'm looking at my calendar. I just bought this whiteboard calendar thing here because it's key. I'm at my desk and I look up. I see what's going on. I got Avengers written on the Thursday, and I see the X's, and it's getting closer and closer, and I'm so fucking excited. It's nuts. Like, we get 3 Marvel movies a year, and I'm excited for each one, right? But like we get 3, so. It's not a big event every time. It's an event, but it's not crazy. I don't get this excited. But for Avengers, like a collective Avengers movie, we've only had 2. This is the 3rd one. And we have so many more characters. And we have Wakanda in here. Just like, what's going to happen? How are these characters going to play off each other? I'm super curious to see. And, I can't wait. I'm just going to be playing Fortnite nonstop to pass the time until this movie comes out.
Well, to pass my time, I'm going to be playing God of War.
You're playing God of War?
I got God of War. I played about in 2 hours so far. Love it so far. That's what I'm going to pass the time for. And I can't wait. I can't fucking wait for Infinity War. Like, the thing, we get 3 Marvel movies a year. But this is such an event. This is what we've been leading to, this whole, this MCU. This is the arc of the MCU. And then obviously after 4, we're going to have new chapters presented to us, especially with the Disney and Fox deal going on. We'll have X-Men in there eventually. But this is what we've been leading to. And I can't fucking wait. I can't wait. I'm jacked up. Each day, getting even more jacked up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there.
But you know what? I think we've said it all, unless you have anything else to say.
I think we've about covered everything I want to say, or at least. But
well, then you know what?
It's up to you from here on out.
I think we've just done a successful hour.
Wow.
And I think it's time to get out of here and leave the good people with a few plugs of where to find us.
All right, let's do it. You can find us Google Play, iTunes, on YouTube. We're the Jake and Ben Show. You should listen to us. You should be engaged. You should be involved. You can tweet us or drop some comments on Facebook. Like our Facebook page, Jake and Ben Show. So if you tweet us, maybe give us a question, we'll answer it. Leave us a comment, a concern, or anything. Well, we'll get to it. We'll answer it on the show. And Facebook, Twitter, that's our social media outlets. YouTube, Google Play, iTunes, that's where you can listen to us. And I think that's it for plugs. Thank you to Jackson for the cover art and the music intro. But I think that's all. I want to plug. You? Any final words?
Right. Yeah. My final words are, look out for our nice, meaty Infinity War review. We'll be doing one of those. Check us out, our next show.
Want to do it video? Are we doing it video? And, remember we were talking about that?
Well, yeah, okay. I guess we can talk about it in here. We talked about a video, and I'm good to do a video review if are you okay to do a video review?
I'm down to do a video review. We just have to find, a little set for it. I have some ideas for
Yeah.
reviews that I think we should talk about off air that I want to run by you. So maybe we
Yeah.
could save that for later.
Yeah, we'll work out the details, but I mean, there's a nice little nugget, a potential video review of Infinity War. So yeah, we'll keep you updated if you follow us, and I think we can talk about this off recording, off air, and I will leave it with a bye for now.
All right, and that's all for me too. So I'll leave it for bye for now. Again, sorry for the weird technical delays. If there's anything glitchy, or if you maybe didn't even notice it, in which case, good. But apologies for that. But that's everything. This has been Jake and Ben, and we'll see you next week. Next Jake and Ben show, we will have seen the Avengers. Okay, see you later.